1, 2, 3.
Yes, it's the Late Late Breakfast Show with your host, Bernie J. Mitchell.
Are you in?
Are you in?
Just chat away and
Easy.
Just relax, chat away.
that's as good as we're going to
They're going
get.
to come in. So we should find a way to start it. And if we keep this bit going for a little longer, it just is absolute fucking agony for Yanis.
So you're actually recording now?
I am recording
Yeah.
now, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And before. obviously.
Oh right, you've been recording the whole time?
No, I've just started now.
Okay.
Say some bad things about you.
Say some bad things. Yeah.
So why don't we say what a lovely guy Yanis is and then we hope he feels better soon. Poor guy's got food poisoning.
If I came back...
Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
If I came back as a Greek youth living in North London, I'd want to be Yanis.
So shall we get started?
So today we have... He was called Blog Tyrant, and then he had like an unmasking. He
right.
revealed to the world. And what's your name and what do you do?
Ramsay Taplin, run blogtyrant.com.
When was the unveiling?
I was in Bali 2 years ago now, and I was about to propose to Peter, who's sitting out there, my fiance. And I got an email from Glenn from Viper Chill, and he had a request in there saying... No, he had a tweet from Glenn saying, check your email. And I turned all my emails off because I was on holidays, didn't want to read them. And he'd sent an email to me saying, do you want to write on Viper Chill? And he never asked anyone before. But the condition of that was kind of, I want you to unmask on Viper Chill. So we heard James Chartrand from Men with Pens.
Mm-hmm.
She did a big unmasking on Copyblogger years and years ago where she was pretending to be a man and she was writing as a man.
Yeah.
Because she was getting higher fees as a male.
Really?
That's disgusting.
So she did that for a very long time, and then she did a great post called Why James Chartrand Wears Women's Underpants, and revealed on Copyblogger that she was, in fact, a she. And so we had that kind of idea. We do the unveiling on Viper Chill, and it's Viper Chill's third most popular post of all time, which Glenn hates.
So what's the upside of that? So
Since unveil?
yeah, how's it changed your world?
Well, I mean, Pat Flynn and a few people like that used to say to me, like, you really need to do it because people don't trust the site as much and it's really hard to develop a relationship with you when we're talking on email and that kind of thing. So that's been the main advantage, is that I think those sort of networking opportunities have been a lot better. And I'm not constantly worried about somebody finding out what it was, but it was a great marketing sort of exercise.
I really like the way it was all set up. I felt like I didn't think when you see a photo of Ramsay, he's like a really nice looking guy and you could take him home to your mum, but I always thought he was like some angry programmer in a room with a drum.
Tyrant is not a friendly word, is it?
No, it's not.
In a room with a drum kit and an arcade machine. But
Yeah.
So tell us what Blog Tyrant's all about, and what you're aiming to do with it.
Blog Tyrant started off by a complete accident. I sold a few blogs in uni and did really well off of them, and then dropped out of uni and decided to keep doing that. And I wanted to create a blogging marketplace. So I registered the name Blog Tyrant. We're going to have, like sell articles and sell blogs and find different things you can do for blogging. But then I thought I'd populate it with content first, and I wrote an article on it called How I Sold a Blog for $20,000 in 8 months, which went on the front page of Delicious and Dig and Reddit. Like one of the first or second posts, and then just sort of went from there.
what year was this? I think it's 2000.
I can't remember. It was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Blog Tyrant is now your career. It's what you make your living out of.
Before that, I was running a web design business in Adelaide. That was sort of to help me pay the bills to finance doing more blogging stuff. But now that Blog Tyrant's taken off, that's where I'm sort of focusing on. Yeah. So.
And what do you like? Is it the writing or is it the web? I was going to say web wizardry, but I can't say.
It's a good word.
or is it the cash at the end after 8 months of blogging?
No, I mean, I think I've always wanted to work from home. That was a big thing. All my family's in business and office and really didn't ever appeal to me. So whatever I've been able to do to keep working from the couch has been a really good thing for me. But I kind of got a little bit tired of the client-based work and wanted to work where it was the content that was kind of doing the magic and SEO, that kind of thing.
I'm right there at the moment.
Yeah.
I couldn't say it where anyone else would hear it, but I hate working with clients. It just does my head in.
Good job this isn't recording, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's why Blog Tyrant's sort of the focus now, is that we can move away from the clients and just work on content.
So what makes blogging special? Why focus on blogging?
A blog about blogging. Again, I guess it was probably from the accident that it just sort of, that was, did okay. Because the first blogs I had, the ones I sold, were actually in fitness. The first one was a women's fitness blog, which I started up just because me and my mate were in Chinatown and talking about this amazing new thing called Google AdSense, where people would click your ads and you'd earn money. It just blew us away.
Amazing new thing, wow. So what year was that? That must have been...
I can't remember. I was just in uni and I just read this post on, I think it was on Darren's site, on ProBlogger.
Yeah.
Just couldn't believe that someone would pay you 20, 30, 40 cents to click on a link. And so we thought we'd build up some websites, and one of them was the women's fitness one. And I guess that process of building that up over that first year and then selling it gave me some good insights. And then, Blog Tyrant just happened.
So is AdSense still a good way to make money as a blogger?
Selling blogs?
No, AdSense, using AdSense.
I don't recommend it. I don't use it anywhere anymore, just because I sort of think back to those fitness sites and wish I'd grown a mailing list and had my own products and sort of done it that way. But you're essentially, like sending people off your site for pence.
I don't want to go too deep into this, but people always want to know, how do I make money blogging? So if you're just writing a blog about, how do you make money blogging without having AdSense ads on your blog? Is it products, or is there some other genius?
Are you asking him for his magic formula?
It's not magic. He writes about it.
It's not that magic. No, but I think if somebody was starting new or early on, affiliates is just the easiest way. If you already have a blog, it's a little bit more difficult. But if you're starting a new blog, the simplest way is to find something that you know about that has an affiliate program, and then you build up a blog full of great content like that. One of the things a lot of bloggers don't do, though, which I find really strange, is buying advertising to then promote that blog. So one of the things I try to do is I'll have an affiliate program that I am signed up for, and then I'll write a really in-depth post, 3,000-4,000 words about that affiliate product, or in the same sort of topic, not necessarily as a review, but maybe where it gets mentioned, and then go and buy ads on relevant blogs through blog ads or Facebook ads, and drive traffic back to my post, so that you've got really niche target traffic coming back, and you don't have to wait around for Google rankings, which I think frustrates a lot of new bloggers.
Yeah. And with so there's this constant conversation about long form and short form. So there was was it the virtual private server? Is why you should have your virtual private network.
Yeah.
So I clicked on that the other day.
Yeah.
And that was a really long post.
Yeah, that's quite a short one.
And I was like, I don't know. Does that do? It's a bit tricky, because does that do better for you, or is that what you recommend people to do? Because there's certain people I'll stick around and read the whole thing because it's them.
Yeah.
But there's probably only about 5 or 10 people that I'll do that with, which is maybe how it should work. But
yeah, that's it. I mean, Neil Patel from Quicksprout and Kissmetrics. He had a post where he talked about that. He always sort of felt like the long form content worked better, and then he analysed all of his content, and it statistically worked significantly better than anything short. And I've always found, just sort of like you say, it gets more reshare.
Better in terms of conversions from
engagement, more reshares, more tweets, more comments, more sign-ups. And then he tested, I think, one of his landing pages as well, which is for a premium service, and he went from a really short page to a long one. A long one converted a lot better there as well. But yeah, again, I remember Chris Ducker said to me on the podcast that he struggles to read Viper Chill's posts just because he doesn't have time, because he does 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 words for every post. But they do tend to get remembered. I guess, like you say, 5 or 10 people that are doing the long ones. Maybe they're just the ones you remember.
A long time ago, I'm only going to have I'm going to focus on these 20 people and read their blogs.
Yeah.
And they were all coming into, do you remember this thing called, it was Google something, Google Reader, was it?
Oh, yeah, I heard of that. Yeah.
And there's people like our friend JP, I'm going to stick with his content. And people I thought were amazing blog once every 2 months.
Yeah,
And you're not as, I thought you'd be there, before I put you into a system.
Yeah.
yes, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? But before I put you into the system, I just thought you posted every day. I was like, I've got to keep up with the blog Tyrant. And then it's like, it's like, was it, how often? It's like once every 3 weeks or something? Or?
Yeah, once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, you say
But each one's sort of 3 or 4, 5,000 words.
Yeah,
So you put, you put some effort into this.
I don't think I've done one that's less than 2,500 in the whole lot of them. There's only 100 on there.
And then, do you sort of sit down and write and it takes a few hours and you love it, or is that something you agonise over for 5 days and don't talk to me, I'm blogging my...
No, there's a lot of staring out of windows during the process.
Play with cats.
Yeah, a lot of
cats and
cat video games, all those things. Very inspiring. But no, they sometimes, I mean, some of them, if it's a topic like that I just really love, that I really sort of something I do every day, you can bang it out in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But then other ones like the VPN post you're just talking about, or something a bit more technical.
That was very academic. That was a grown-up post.
Boring, and it took a long time to research, and so that'll take a bit longer. And then finding the right photos and cropping all that stuff and all the links.
The VPN one, I thought that's something I'd love to read, but I wouldn't like to write. I'd like to people to think I've written it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And that's the sort of post where I'd go. I'd be scared to write it because my brother-in-law would ring me up and go, "What are you talking about? It's like this," and catch me out technically. Yeah,
I was actually quite a little bit worried about that. I had 1 or 2 comments on the Google Plus promotion post that I did where people were saying, "Come on, that's not true," and then had to go back and really think about why I actually believed what I'd written. But that is like a really technical topic. I don't pretend to understand it.
So there's which I'll put in the show notes. The link I can't remember because we'll be here forever. But it's called like Wi-Fi Anywhere, and you pay like $10 a month, and it secures secures a network. And I found that on the Suitcase Entrepreneurs blog.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Quick, write that down.
Yeah.
Because as my jet set life takes off.
Yes.
So what's it like being a jet set blogger?
I wouldn't know. No, I mean we've just been travelling around for the last 3 months, and I've found it pretty difficult. But
is this the first time you've worked remotely?
I mean, most days I work in like a cafe or something, try to get out of the house a little bit because my fiance says I'm turning into a bit of a hermit. But the first time travelling blogging, yes, for sure. And it's had its own unique challenges, but it's been fun.
I love the idea of being location independent. And a couple of years ago, when I was in Argentina for 3 months, and we were planning that, making social party with DNA, the reality of I can work anywhere too. I'm working anywhere. It was like, and the Wi-Fi thing and the internet connection, and, time zones, and probably more the Wi-Fi connection is and you're with people and go, let's go and do this. And like you said, should I go to the Eiffel Tower, or should I sit in it and watch am I going to get any work done in that cafe? Is the coffee nice?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of different things I never really thought about. In terms of how I like to work, maybe, and just found it really kind of unsettling, just changing and moving around. I'm not really sure how people get any consistency. I think I'm maybe a man of routine at home, but that's been quite difficult as well. But then, going from at home, 15, 20 megabyte per second download to Barcelona where it was maybe 56k, just a lot longer.
Dial-up connection, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty slow.
I get really childishly upset there. It's a first world problem.
It is. But
I want to shift gears dramatically because I'm going into holiday chat and ask about email, because the thing you did that changed my life, Ramsay, was how to build a community around email, because I've been up until, which I probably might have been like 3 years ago, that post, or start talking about that.
Yep.
But no one in the room knows, so we'll just move on.
You sure it was Ramsay?
It was either him or that. The one with the hair. Just gone. Anyway, so up until then, I've been really anti-email, and I'd reluctantly sent people. And I was very, didn't want emails, and I had probably about 3,000 people on an email list that I just badly and scruffily put together, and I was sort of. And then I thought, oh right, so that's it. The community element around the email list, and it started to work. And what I did is started doing an email list that works really well when I do it, but of course because it works I forget to do it, and then so we're looking for that consistency. But the consistency with that group of people works really well. The best thing I'm ever known for is my unsubscribe email. where I said, there's loads of people on this list and you probably don't like me and I probably owe you money and I probably owe lots of things, so unsubscribe. And 300 people unsubscribed in one, like a day-long period, which was heart-stopping. But then I ended up with the people I really needed.
Yeah,
and that was great. But the whole thing that started that was the community around the email list. I think that's the bit I'd like you to get talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said before, with those original blogs that I started, was not in the days of flaming text and scrolling logos and things, but it wasn't far past that. And it was just nobody really grew an email list. There wasn't the software to do it, and everyone sort of just focused on the ad revenue and that kind of thing. But with Blog Tyrant and a few of the other projects we're doing at the moment, you notice how valuable it is to have like a really engaged list, but a really large engaged list. And that's something Derek Halpern from Social Triggers...
I've just written that down to show that I knew what you're talking about.
Yeah, he said to me on a Skype chat one day that he just thinks it's rubbish that people only focus on having a small engaged email list. Why not have a really big engaged email list? And I think that's very true.
How do you grow that email list then?
Through Blog Tyrant, I'm a big fan of pop-up ads, which not everybody is. It's a bit controversial.
We did there with the pop-ups. we did a crowdsourced build your blog session about 3 weeks ago, and we said what plugins does everyone want to use, and we got to pop-ups, and it was universally thrown out. Everyone hated the idea. But then you're saying it works.
I mean, website owners tend to hate it, and then the readers. I mean, I've had it on there the whole time, and I've had one complaint perhaps. I've done a review of Pop-Up Domination and a few other like Aweber. They have their pop-up software to it, and maybe some people say it's a little bit annoying. But then like Neil Patel on Quicksprout's got 3 or 4 that you have to fight your way through to read his content, and he's got one of the biggest blogs in the world.
Well, there's Christopher S. Penn, did research this a bit, and he put his pop-up on, and there's a graph, which I'll include in the show notes. There's a graph that says, what was it? What is that, a hockey stick? Hockey stick graph when you go really high?
Could be, yeah. Keep going.
Lots of people signed up with his pop-up, and then people in his sort of social media circles said, we hate the pop-up, we wouldn't be using pop-up. And he goes, well, listen, you dumb bastards, it's like loads of people have signed up. Then he took it off and it dropped that back down again, and then he researched and said that most people leave my site after 59 seconds, so if I put it on at 58 seconds and it doesn't annoy the social media people that are just there to copy and paste my content, and so that was the happy medium. But
that's interesting. Darren Rouse said the same thing, that he, on Digital Photography School, which is his main blog, he's had a pop-up on there from the very beginning, and I think he's got it to only come up after a minute or 2 minutes. So some of the criticisms of the pop-up is that you get lots of subscribers, but none of them are engaged. Some of them might think that they had to put their email in to read it, or they don't really understand it. But if you have it on after a long time, they're definitely engaged with the content and will then open up your emails. So that's the way he does it.
When does yours pop up?
I think it's set at 45 seconds and split testing now with something over a minute. And it does all right.
And are you always split testing on your site?
Yeah, always with the pop-ups and the opt-in forms anyway, yeah.
And what do you think influences that change in behaviour? Is it stuff you do, or is it stuff more people get used to using the internet? Or
yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I remember the right-hand side of a website, and the top of the sidebar used to be a really hot area of the site, and all the Google heat maps would show it. And the theory was that it's because before we had the scroller on the mouse, you had to take the mouse cursor up to the top of the page so you could scroll down the page. So people are always looking over that way. But now that we don't have we've got the scrollers, you don't go over there. So maybe it's not as hot anymore. But yeah, so it's definitely probably behaviour changes.
I'm doing this rather flamboyant looking swirling iPad thing. Now we swipe with an iPad and an iPhone. Does that move that hotspot?
Yeah, there's different technological challenges as well with that. Like if you're using a lightbox pop-up, you often can't close them, and that's really frustrating. So that's one of the complaints you get with lightbox pop-ups on the iPhone, that you can't actually close it to see the content. So you got to be careful of that stuff as well.
I didn't know that. Of course, I knew that because everyone knows I know about.
I find that with the cookie, the cookie notification you have to have over here. if you do it on the iPhone on my site, you can't get rid of the cookie notifications.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
frustrating because that must be because there's a lot.
That thing's frustrating. Just I can't
Generally.
believe you have to do that.
I know,
That's
yeah, it's
incredible.
the European Union
Yeah.
for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's so with one last question about email pop-ups and stuff like that. What way do you recommend it? Because there's people that say I use super marketing, $10,000 a month stuff, and then what does the man or the lady in the street need to be using?
I mean, I think personally you should pay for something.
Yep.
If you're not going to pay for something, MailChimp is a good free alternative for the first 500 or 1,000 subscribers. But I use Aweber just because you can build all the forms in it. It's not that expensive when you're under 10,000 subscribers. When you go over,
it's like $35 a month or something.
yeah, about that. And then when you go over it, $150 for 10,000 to 50,000.
And I was getting the impression these days that Aweber was a superior product, and now Aweber and MailChimp are pretty.
Yeah, I mean,
neck and neck.
MailChimp's used by I think Wall Street Journal and Nike and stuff, so they're doing really well. You know,
Well, if they've got Nike, they must be good.
Who knew?
But yeah, I mean, I find MailChimp a little bit clunky to use. I prefer Aweber, the way it's all set out in the build, and it shows you the different separate lists, and you can do the split testing quite easily. But yeah, I mean, FeedBurner was good. You can still get your email subscriptions done through FeedBurner, but then there's a lot of people predicting that that's about to close as well. So
They've been saying that for years.
yeah, they have. They have. I mean, they've turned off the feed recently, and they don't update it, and it. There's a few other strange things like that.
Can we stop talking about this? I'm getting sad. The question I get a lot, and I just guessed the answer at the time. Of course, I don't. But is subscribing to a blog and an email list, and how do you run it? Is it every time you post? Do we get an email, or do you have an email mailing list and a subscriber list?
Yeah, I have it on Blog Tyrant. Just by default, I have it all. Everyone goes on the same list at the moment, except for a few separate posts where I'm trying to promote separate things. We have that all segmented. But yeah, I found the best way for open rates is to have everyone sign up for the updates, and then instead of sending the actual post as the email update, kind of like an RSS feed, I craft a different email with a different headline and then split test those. That seems to work pretty well. I find the most important thing is like the pre-sign up process. So I try not to get email subscribers anywhere without telling them exactly what they're going to get first, because that seems to affect the open rates and unsubscribe rates quite a lot.
Yep.
And there are horrible individuals out there who will just click spam, if they can't remember where they subscribed from. So I think it's really important to do that at the start. So have a specific page on your blog where you outline everything that they're going to get and how it's going to come, and then make sure you stick to that. That's been big.
And how have you combated the Gmail social promotions?
Yeah, I haven't.
boxing?
I mean, I read posts on Derek's site and Copyblogger about that. I haven't seen any noticeable changes on my list. I mean, for my personal Gmail inbox, I deleted those other two tabs, but I haven't really seen any drop in open rates since that's come about.
Yeah.
Possibly because my stuff's so high quality.
Obviously that's just something I have the same issue
Let's
with.
change gear again, because that's a lot of email marketing.
Let's shift gears.
Yeah, let's
shift gears.
Sorry, shift gear. I'm sorry, use the wrong terminology. Let's talk about, because you obviously blogged about, in 8 months you built and sold a blog for 20,000 Aussie dollars, I'm guessing.
Email's much more interesting.
So just tell me what the essential elements are of a blog that you can sell. If I'm going to buy a blog, what should I look for?
Okay, so it's definitely got to be on your own domain name and hosting, and a lot of new bloggers obviously start off on Blogspot or Tumblr and all that kind of stuff. That's really difficult to sell. Nobody really wants to buy them, because I'm not sure if you actually own that. I don't know if Tumblr and Google actually owns that, or whether you own it. I think you maybe license it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that part of it. Analytics installed from the very first day, which is something I completely ignored, because people will want to look back at your history, especially if you're flipping it in such a short amount of time. I sold it after a year had passed. It wasn't 8 months. I stopped working on it after about 8 months. But yeah, people will want to see every element of your history and multiple different analytics, the different revenue streams. And so make sure that's all very clean. Make sure that can all be transferred over to somebody else, which is kind of difficult now with Google Plus integration, Google Analytics. It's all like integrated through your Google Plus personal account. So make sure you've got a separate one that you can then hand over to somebody else, so that you're not tied to that website forever. The other thing, I guess, is just make sure it's really evergreen and kind of generic in terms of its content, because if, I don't think I could ever sell Blog Tyrant because people would probably stop reading it because I wasn't writing it anymore. I had that trouble with one of the blogs I sold. I think it was a slightly smaller $15,000 sale maybe, but it was all premium long content. They had trouble getting new writers on, and then the subscriber base dropped quite a lot, which they weren't happy about. But yeah, in terms of what it needs to have on it, I'd just go evergreen content and then just make sure it's memorable in some way. It doesn't ever have to be original at all, just make sure it's distinctive.
I remember reading something about how you pick your subject. Is pick something this might sound an awfully obvious thing to say, is pick something you know a lot about. You can't just go, I'm going to write about, just like everyone to know, we have a tiring machine in the room here, which is why it's getting mentioned so often. But I'm going to write about arcade games.
Well, hang on though, because Ramsay was saying he started off writing about women's fitness.
Yeah, I could be into women's fitness. You don't know. No, I mean, my blogging sort of career, I guess, started off with fitness stuff in high school. I was obsessed with martial arts and kung fu movies, and I played soccer for the state. I was really into all that, so I started a blog about fitness, and I sold one textbook, which I printed out myself. And before I knew about any payment gateways, I sold one copy to this guy in Holland for $65, and ended up posting it to him and doing the money through Western Union money transfer. And I remember catching the bus down to the market to get the money, and that's where it all started. That was back in high school. So then, it just seemed like I knew fitness, and that might be a good place to start. But I personally find that really difficult, to pick a niche that you don't know anything about and then like build up the content for that. But some people, there are guys who do it really well and are probably eating my lunch. So I think if you can do that, definitely do it. But maybe look to outsource early. Don't try and write about things you hate, because you just lose interest.
So you become a curator.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do that really early on.
And how much time do you have to spend on because this build a blog idea has always appealed to me, but as soon as the word Google Analytics comes up, I sort of freeze, and I'm good at messing about and content and stuff like that, but the actual mechanics and the analytics of it, I wouldn't know what to do. Do I need to follow that really hardly, or do?
Yeah, I mean, I find that all very tricky as well.
It doesn't come across like that.
No, I hated maths in high school, and it all reminds me of maths, so I could have cursory looks at what's going on.
This is like a therapy session for me now.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So how do you? Sorry, I haven't answered the question. Go ahead.
Oh, just when it comes to analytics and all that kind of stuff, I think you've got to get comfortable with split testing. Mm-hmm. And if you can split test things and track things, and maybe learn about tracking cookies, so you know what part of your site's converting, that's sort of the main thing you need to know. But other than that, like Chris Ducker, I had a phone call with him recently, and he always, just because obviously it's his company, which is a huge company, but he's a virtual assistant. And he just said he thinks that's like the underpinning thing that all bloggers need to have now for success, so that you have somebody that runs all of your stuff for you. And so instead of dealing out all the tasks to different people that you're outsourcing to, this one person does it. So I think that's a really good thing to get comfortable with. And then if you want to have an analytics guy, you can have an analytics guy, and he will tell you if things are going up and down because of some stupid Google update, and then you'll not be as stressed.
Yep. And do you use the VA model?
I don't. I should. Chris will be very disappointed. I
won't tell him.
I have just a few guys that I use. I've found that process, that's taken like a long time to find the right, WordPress coders and developers and stuff. And you'll start a really good relationship with somebody, and then they don't finish the work or whatever. So I've got a few people that I use regularly around the world, but I still sort of manage all my own stuff. Yeah.
So how did you work out the value of the blogs that you sold? What made you say the price of this is $20,000? Or?
Well, I mean, at the time, the rule of thumb was 12 times monthly revenue. So they give you basically a year's worth of what you're making for the month. But I know people who've got 24 times and way above that, depending on how good the site's been and how good the domain's been. And I guess it all depends on your buyer, like what your buyer wants to do with the site. If they want to keep going with what you've been doing with it, you'll probably get the 12 or 24 times the monthly. But if they're trying to take out some competition, maybe like Facebook did with Instagram, they'll give you $1 billion for it, which I'm not sure it was really worth for. worth that
$1
much.
billion. So let's focus on that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a few websites like Instagram that have sold for $1 billion that I don't think are probably don't earn that much. Tumblr earned like $16 million or something last year. But yeah, potential
I'd
maybe.
love to be a screwed up little guy in New York who's messing around with a blog called Tumblr, and
Yeah, that's right.
Marissa May knock on my door one day and say, "What do you do with that?"
Yeah,
So where do you sell the blogs? So you go onto things like flipper.com?
yeah, it was called SitePoint, I think.
Sellmyblog.com.
No, I don't know. It could be there.
SitePoint. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was called SitePoint Marketplaces back then, and then the marketplace. I think SitePoint's still around, and then the marketplace came out and became Flipper.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Flipper. That's where I've done all of them, and then one or two of them I've advertised it on Flipper, and it hasn't sold. But then somebody's contacted me privately, and we've done it privately. Yeah.
So, because I mean, I'm sure there are some people in our community who want to start blogging, and they've got a desire, but they kind of got the domain name. They just can't. Don't know where to get started. For them, it might be a good case to go up and buy a ready-made blog to play with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what should you look for if you're going to go and buy a blog?
I was just looking at them last night. I love looking at them. I find it really fascinating. There's a lot of crap on there. There's a lot of stuff that, like the due diligence, I think, for buying a blog is really quite overwhelming, because a lot of people do things like drop domain names and put sites on it, and you think, great, I'm going to get a PR PageRank 7 website that gets 30,000 visitors a day for $500, and then by the time the next Google update comes, it's just worth nothing. I'd really dig into the history as much as you can. So look at the Wayback Machine, see what it looked like last year and the year before, and then 5 years ago, see what the previous owner was. Look at the server history, see what the DNS have looked like in the past, where it's been. Try and trace back the owners as well. So if you can find out the account name or the username of the person who's blogging, so like the blog Tyrant, you could look back and see what the blog Tyrant has done in the past and see if the site's always been there, if it's been somewhere else. But really just trying to get as many tools as possible. Flipper's pretty good, like they make you prove your revenue and all that kind of stuff, and you have to embed a pixel on your website to even be listed in Flipper to prove that you're the owner. But it doesn't mean that people still aren't putting up rubbish sites. So
It sounds really exhausting looking for a blog to buy.
yeah, I mean, I've heard people say that they'll spend like months looking at a website. They'll see a listing on Flipper. They'll think it looks like a really good buy, and maybe it'll get passed in. It won't get sold, but then they'll follow it on, see what happens after that. Were they trying to sell it because they knew maybe a Google PageRank update was coming and they'd been buying links, or some other trend was tapering off and they were sort of at the end of it and wanted to get out before it really dropped, so they'll follow it after that. So it can take a long time.
But worth it. If you're going to spend $20,000 on a site or whatever, $1,000,
Exactly.
you still want to make sure you're getting some.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe be wary of sites that are being flipped really early on. If somebody's making 10 grand a month on a website that's only 4 months old, then why are they selling it? If it's really that profitable, why are they getting out so early? Those kind of warning signs.
Okay. Any more questions on that?
No, I think there's probably a 4,000 or 5,000 word blog post we should try and convince Ramsay to write for us.
Yeah, there is. And you can have all the coffee you want while you're here.
But you can't leave until it's finished.
So what's in the we're on 28 and a half minutes, and we need to give him back in a minute. What's where are you going with Blog Tyrant now? What's on the horizon for Blog Tyrant, Ramsay?
Well, we've got the product launch coming up. We had a small product launch just to the email list.
When you say small product, was it like a size of a matchbox?
Tiny product, very tiny product. No, it was a big product, but just to a small number of people.
What was the product? Or what is the product?
It's called Subscriber Special Ops, and it was sort of a little bit like what we're talking about today, just focusing on sort of more tactical, deliberate ways to grow a mailing list, kind of not just tacking your opt-in form on your blog, but actually targeting traffic that will then funnel through and subscribe and then be useful to your blog, not just have a huge list that doesn't really do much. That's what the product was about. That'll be launching soon. And then Tyrant Themes, which is something I bought and promised would be out a long time ago is about to happen in a very big way.
Oh, I'm so excited.
WordPress themes?
Yeah, a little bit different to what I had thought initially. It's not just going to be my own kind of creation.
I'm glad you said that. I thought you were going to say a little bit different to what's out there right now. It'd be a really non-sentence.
Yeah, so that's happening.
So what sort of things can we expect?
A little bit like Blog Tyrant, I really wanted to focus on sort of my own ideas with how I go about blogging and building a blog. It'll be WordPress theme-based tactical stuff attached to a lot of free downloads and things that'll be useful for people to use with the coming responsive theme kind of
How
revolution.
long did it take you to put that together? All joking aside.
Last night.
Last night.
Just came up with it last night.
Julius Solaris, listen here. Is that actually from the I'm going to do it to getting out of the door?
I bought tyrantthemes.com 2 years ago, and I put it on a blog post saying that this is going to be launching soon. And I've got on my computer several themes that I've designed and had coded for years, but didn't want to launch that premium WordPress marketplace on my side because I couldn't be bothered with all the support and all the support tickets. So I kind of put that off for a very long time. But now, because I've sort of had a new idea about how I want to approach it, it's all a bit more manageable now, but it's going to be a lot bigger. But that'll still be in there, but maybe not as directly.
And who are you between the email product and the theme? And who are you? Who's your? I'm not commenting on saying this. Who's your target market? Is it anyone with a blog, or is it?
No, I'd prefer
or...
it wasn't people with blogs. Actually, I really I try to target people who haven't started a blog yet and want to start a blog. So the more beginner the person, the better. I've found that evergreen content works so much better if they don't know anything about what they're talking about.
Quick, write that down.
So yeah,
that wouldn't apply to our community.
So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff on there for people who have blogs and who have blogs and have had them for a few months and aren't seeing any real uptake and growth in subscribers or traffic. There's lots of stuff on there for that. That's really good, but I find you get more of the kind of loyalty and the excitement from the people who are just seeing the blogging for the first time and starting out from there.
So it must. I'd hate to start a blog now because you just get swamped with, do we do this? Do we do this?
There's so much flexibility of blogging. There's so many options and things you've got to consider.
Yeah, there is. But I also think it's kind of easier than ever as well because you've got Aweber and Google Analytics and Google Plus and all these things that you didn't have before that now make it kind of easier. I think the real task is not from the technology side maybe, but from just finding a way to be distinctive, to stand out, because there is how many started a day? 480 million blogs started every day. I don't know what it is, but as long as you can be distinctive, it seems to be not that difficult to grow an audience anymore because there's so many people online.
And I think at the beginning of the year I did this talk about podcasting because I'd been podcasting for at least 2 months by then.
Yep.
So I was already an expert. And then I read this statistic that there's 9 billion gazillion silillion blogs in the world, and at the time in iTunes there was 270,000 podcasts, and I was like, oh, that's good. And we're
opportunity,
and we're at 221,000 I think at the moment as of today.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
progress.
Rocking.
Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income just says so much of his traffic comes from the podcast. Just absolutely massive. Yeah.
So on that note, because we are kind of drawing to a close, tell us two things. One is where can people find you online, but two, you've mentioned about 15 different names of people that are really cool and we should check out. Name the top 3 that we should really look into. So where are you first?
Have you got a brown envelope?
Well, you can find me on blogtyrant.com. And on there, I'm on almost every social media thing, but mostly Google+. That's where I sort of hang out during the day.
That's where all the cool kids are.
Apparently. That's what I'm hearing.
Largely.
In terms of people I would follow, I guess I'd just talk about people that I follow. Glenn from Viperchill, who a little bit biased because I'm the only other person that writes on that site. But the stuff he's doing with SEO is really incredible and controversial, and Google hates it, I think. And he's really showing people what is getting results in Google versus what people think they should be doing to get results in Google. He's really interesting. Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income is just such a nice guy.
Can you quickly say what he does every month? Because it's very cool what he does.
Who? Pat Flynn.
About how he's transparent with his money. And
Oh yeah, he does the big monthly income report where he breaks down every single place that he earns money from, how much he earns, and
Really, just puts that out there.
yeah, like
but it's all online. He hasn't got like 3 burger vans and a newsagent.
no, it's all
Different sites.
all online websites, all websites, and
I love those online websites.
yeah, they're the best kind of websites, and.
Cool.
And for the third one, I'd probably have to say Chris Ducker, just because I think
So for the uninitiated, who's Chris Ducker?
Chris Ducker owns a bunch of companies. He's from London, I think, but he lives in the Philippines. I think he's got like 400 plus staff now in one of his call centres, and he helps businesses and people get virtual assistants and get outsourcing.
He's got a very nice post about comparing virtual assistants.
Yeah, he's really good at that stuff. So I think if you want to be more prolific with your blogging and what you do online, that'd be the guy to follow to see how he does it.
Excellent.
Anything else?
No, that's it, I think, from me.
That's,
There's a lot of information. As usual, we've got an expert who's
I was
Brain
always
dumped
happy to help out, Andy. I hope you picked up some good tips, Ramsay.
Of course, I meant you,
It's
Benny.
been very valuable. Thanks for having me.
So, let's do a little round of applause.
Please go to berniejmitchell.com/podcast. Bernie would love your feedback and input.